Taemin wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at the mountain of rusted metal in front of him. He had been working at Rusthaven Station for 3 years now, and every day looked exactly the same. Sort through junk. Tag the good parts. Watch rich aliens buy the useful ships. Go home to his tiny room. Sleep. Repeat. But today was different. Today was auction day, and Taemin had exactly 0.25 credits in his account. The junkyard stretched out in all directions, filling the space around the old station. Broken ships floated everywhere, each one a dream that had died in the cold of space. Some had crashed. Others had simply been abandoned when their owners found better vessels. A few had been here so long that nobody remembered where they came from. Taemin walked through the catalog bay, watching the auction listings scroll across his handheld device. Every ship cost more than he would make in a year. Some cost more than he would make in a lifetime. Humans were not paid well in the galaxy. Most aliens saw them as good workers, but nothing special. They were new to space, after all. Only 200 years since first contact. Just children compared to species that had been flying between stars for thousands of years. He was about to close the device and go back to work when he saw it. Ship number 4,477. Price: 0.25 credits. Taemin blinked. He read it again. It had to be a mistake. Nothing in the junkyard cost less than 50 credits. Even a pile of scrap metal was worth more than that. He found Vex, the station's auction master, in his usual spot near the main dock. Vex was a Moltarian, which meant he looked like a slug the size of a small car. His skin was gray and always covered in slime. He smelled like old fish. Taemin had learned to breathe through his mouth when talking to him. "Vex, I have a question about ship 4,477. Taemin said. Vex's eye stalks swiveled toward him. Then the alien started laughing. It was a wet, bubbling sound that made Taemin's stomach turn. "The human wants the ghost ship," Vex said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Other workers stopped what they were doing to laugh. "That piece of junk has been here for 400 years. Every scanner says it's dead. The hull is intact. But there's no power, no life support, nothing. But it's only 0.25 credits," Taemin said. "Because it's worthless." Vex laughed again. "We can't even cut it up for parts. The metal is too dense. It just floats there, taking up space. If you want it, human, take it. At least we'll be rid of the thing." Taemin felt his heart beating faster. A ship. His own ship. It didn't matter if it was dead. He could fix things. He'd been fixing things his whole life. "I'll buy it," he said. Vex stopped laughing. "You're serious?" "Yes." The Moltarian shrugged, which made his whole body ripple. "Your funeral. Transfer the credits." Taemin pulled out his device and sent the 0.25 credits. His account balance dropped to 0. Everything he had saved for 3 years of brutal work was gone. But he owned a ship now. He was a ship owner, even if everyone on the station thought he was crazy. The coordinates led him to the oldest part of the junkyard, where the really ancient wrecks floated. Taemin took a shuttle out, following the signal. When he finally saw ship 4,477, his breath caught in his throat. It was huge, easily the size of a military dreadnought, maybe bigger. The hull was covered in centuries of dust and space debris, but underneath, Taemin could see smooth metal that didn't match any design he knew. The shape was all wrong for modern ships. Too sleek, too aggressive. There were markings on the side, but they were in no language Taemin recognized. He ran them through his translator. Nothing. The device couldn't even identify what alphabet they were from. He maneuvered the shuttle close to what looked like an airlock. The door was sealed tight. There was no power signature. No lights. No heat. The ship was as dead as Vex had said. Taemin put on his spacesuit and crossed over. He placed his gloved hand on the airlock panel, not expecting anything to happen. The panel lit up. Taemin jumped back, nearly losing his grip on the hull. The airlock panel glowed with soft blue light. Lines of text appeared, still in that strange language. Then, with a hiss of air that shouldn't have been possible, the door slid open. Emergency lights flickered on inside, casting everything in amber. Taemin stared into the corridor. It was clean. Not a speck of dust. Not a sign of decay. It looked like someone had just walked through it yesterday. But the ship had been here for 400 years. He should have gone back. He should have reported this to station security. But Taemin had spent his whole life following rules and staying in his place. And where had that gotten him? He was still poor, still looked down on, still nothing. He stepped inside. The corridor stretched out in both directions. The walls were made of that same strange metal, smooth and seamless. The amber lights created long shadows. Taemin's footsteps echoed as he walked. His suit scanner showed breathable air, which was impossible. The ship had been in vacuum for centuries. He found a room that looked like a control center. Screens covered the walls, all of them dark. In the center was a large console with a chair facing it. Taemin walked up to the console and looked at the controls. Again, nothing he recognized. He touched one of the panels. The entire room came to life. Screens flashed on. The console lit up with colors and symbols. And in the center of the room, light began to form into a shape. It was a woman. She looked human, Korean, like him. Young, maybe 25. She wore a military uniform that Taemin had never seen before. Her image flickered and solidified. She looked around. Confused. "Status report," she said in perfect Korean. Then her eyes focused on Taemin. "Who are you? Why are you on this ship? Where is the rest of the crew?" Taemin couldn't speak. He just stared. "I asked you a question, civilian," the woman said. Her voice was sharp, used to giving orders. "Identify yourself." I'm Taemin," he managed to say. "I bought this ship." "You what?" "I bought it. For 0.25 credits. At a junkyard." The woman stared at him like he had grown a second head. "This is the Eternal Dawn. Flagship of Earth's colonial fleet. This ship is not for sale. It's a military vessel on an active mission." She looked around again, and Taemin saw fear creep into her eyes. "Why is everything in emergency mode? Why are you alone? Where is Earth Command?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Taemin said. "What's your name?" "I'm Hana," she said. "Ship's core intelligence of the Eternal Dawn. Now answer my questions. Where are we?" "Rust Haven. It's a junkyard station in the Outer Rim." "The Outer Rim?" Hana's eyes went wide. "That's impossible. We were heading to the inner colonies." "We were." She stopped. "What year is it?" Taemin told her. Hana went very still. Her holographic image didn't even flicker. She just stood there, processing. When she finally spoke again, her voice was quiet. 600 years, she whispered. "We've been lost for 600 years. Lost from what?" Taemin asked. Hana looked at him with eyes full of sorrow and anger. "From Earth. From our mission. From a war you don't even know happened." She straightened up, and the military bearing came back. "Taemin, I need you to tell me everything. What happened to Earth? What happened to humanity? And why don't you know about the Eternal Dawn?" Taemin sat down in the chair. His legs suddenly felt weak. "I'll tell you what I know. But I don't think you're going to like it." Outside the ship, the junkyard continued its slow rotation around the station. Inside, two humans from different centuries began to share their stories. Neither of them knew that the galaxy was about to change forever. All because of a ship that cost 0.25 credits. Hana paced back and forth in the control room. Her holographic feet didn't make any sound, but Taemin could see the tension in every movement. She had been silent for almost 10 minutes after he finished telling her about modern humanity, about how humans were treated in the galaxy, about how everyone said the Valan hegemony had given humanity the gift of space travel. "They're lying," Hana finally said. Her voice was cold. "Everything you've been told is a lie." Taemin wanted to argue. He wanted to say she was confused, that 600 years of sleep had damaged her memory. But something in her eyes stopped him. She looked haunted. "Tell me what really happened," he said. Hana stopped pacing. She touched the console, and the screens around them came to life. Images appeared. Earth, but not the Earth from history books. This Earth was covered in fires. Cities burned. Ships exploded in orbit. In the year 2227, we made first contact with the Valan hegemony, Hana began. They came to Earth with a fleet of warships. They said they were the oldest alliance of species in the galaxy. They said they brought peace and order to all worlds. That matches what we're taught, Taemin said. Then they gave us an ultimatum. Hana's hands clenched into fists. Submit to genetic modification, or be destroyed. They said humans were too aggressive, too adaptable, too dangerous. They wanted to change us, make us calmer, more obedient, better workers and followers. Taemin felt cold. What did Earth say? Earth told them no. Hana smiled, but it was a sad smile. We told them that humanity would never bow, that we would never let anyone control what we could become. So they attacked. The images changed. Space battles, ground wars. Taemin saw human soldiers fighting against aliens he recognized from the modern hegemony. But these humans fought differently than any humans he knew. They were fierce, relentless. They won battles they should have lost. The war lasted 20 years, Hana continued. Earth was losing. We were one planet against an empire of thousands of worlds. But we never stopped fighting. And that scared them. They realized they couldn't just conquer us. We would fight forever. So, what did they do? Taemin asked, though he was starting to guess the answer. They destroyed everything. Every military base, every shipyard, every city that wouldn't surrender. They killed billions. Hana's voice cracked. But before the end, we had a plan. 10 colony ships, built in secret, each carrying 50,000 humans in cryosleep. We were going to escape, find new worlds, rebuild humanity beyond their reach. Taemin looked around the ship with new eyes. This is one of those ships. The flagship, Hana said with pride. The Eternal Dawn carried Earth's best minds. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, artists. We had everything we needed to start over. And we had something else. Something that would have changed everything. She pressed another button. The screen showed plans for a device Taemin didn't understand. Complex. Beautiful. Terrifying. Project Genesis, Hana said. A terraforming AI that could turn dead worlds into paradises in weeks. Not years, not centuries. Weeks. Do you understand what that means? Taemin thought about it. In the modern galaxy, habitable planets were rare. The hegemony controlled almost all of them. They decided which species got to expand, which ones stayed small. It was how they kept power. You could make your own worlds, he whispered. You wouldn't need them. Exactly. We could have spread across the galaxy. Built a new human empire. Been truly free. Hana looked down. But something went wrong during the jump. We were supposed to travel 200 light years. Instead, we were thrown 600 years into the future and thousands of light years off course. The ship's systems shut down to protect the colonists. And I went into sleep mode. Until I touched the console, Taemin said. Until you woke me up in a galaxy where my people forgot who they were. Taemin stood up and walked to the screens. He looked at the images of old Earth, of humans fighting impossible battles, of ships rising into space carrying hope and anger in equal measure. What happened to the other colony ships? He asked. I don't know. We lost contact during the jump. Hana pulled up a star chart. But I have their planned routes. If they survived, they would be scattered across the galaxy. And the humans who stayed on Earth? Hana's expression turned dark. The hegemony must have won. They must have finally broken Earth's resistance. And then they did exactly what they threatened. They modified the survivors, made them docile, made them forget, made them grateful for the privilege of serving their conquerors. That's insane, Taemin said. But even as he said it, he thought about human history. How it started with first contact. How there were no records before that. How humans always seemed content with so little. How they never questioned why they were at the bottom of galactic society. Is it? Hannah asked. You said humans are good workers, that you're grateful to the hegemony for giving you space travel. Does that sound like the species that held off an empire for 20 years? It didn't. Taemin had always felt something was wrong. Like he was supposed to want more but couldn't figure out what. Like there was a fire inside him that had no fuel to burn. The colonists, he said suddenly. You said 50,000 people. Where are they? Hannah's expression changed. Hope flickered across her face. Come with me. She led him through the corridors. The ship was enormous. It took 10 minutes just to reach the lower decks. Finally, they came to a massive door. Hannah opened it. Taemin stepped into a room the size of an aircraft hangar. Rows and rows of cryopods stretched out before him. Each one held a person. He could see them through the clear panels. Men, women, children, all frozen in time, all waiting. 50,000 original humans, Hannah said softly, unmodified, unchanged. They're everything humanity was supposed to be. Taemin walked between the rows. He stopped at one pod. Inside was a man about his age. The man looked peaceful. His uniform said he was a soldier. On his chest was a patch with Earth's flag, the old one, from before first contact. We have to wake them, Taemin said. Not yet, Hannah warned. First, we need to leave this station. If the hegemony finds out what we have, they'll destroy everything. This ship is proof of their crimes. These people are proof that humans were never meant to be servants. How do we leave? The station will ask questions. Let me worry about that. Hannah smiled. It was the first real smile Taemin had seen from her. This ship has capabilities that modern vessels can't match. We're 600 years more advanced than anything in your galaxy. An alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. What's that? Taemin asked. Hannah's face went pale. Station security. They're scanning us. They detected the power signatures. She ran back to the control room. And Taemin followed. The screens showed 3 security ships approaching. They were small but armed. This is station security to unknown vessel. A voice came through the speakers. You are in violation of salvage laws. Power down immediately. And prepare to be boarded. Hannah looked at Taemin. We're out of time. If they board us and find the colonists, the hegemony will know. We have to run. Run? I don't know how to fly this thing. You don't have to. I'm the ship's intelligence. I can fly us. Hannah's hands moved across the controls. But I need you to make a choice. If we leave now, you'll be a criminal. The hegemony will hunt you. You'll never be able to go back to your old life. Taemin thought about his old life. Working in the junkyard. Sleeping in a tiny room. Being invisible to everyone around him. Never mattering. Never being more than a useful set of hands. I don't want my old life, he said. Take us out of here. Hannah grinned. Hold on to something. The eternal dawn roared to life. Engines that had been silent for 600 years ignited with power that shook the entire station. The security ships fired weapons, but the shots bounced off shields they couldn't even detect. Then the eternal dawn moved. It didn't accelerate slowly like modern ships. It simply vanished, jumping to faster than light speed while still inside the junkyard. Behind them, alarms filled Rust Haven. The security chief, a Valen officer named Krell, watched the impossible happen on his screens. He immediately sent a message to the Hegemony High Council. Ancient weapons platform activated. Human owner, requesting immediate containment fleet. In the capital world of the Hegemony, old eyes read the message. Counselor Wrath, eldest of the Valen, felt his blood run cold. He knew exactly what ship had just awakened. Send everything, he ordered. That ship cannot be allowed to reach human space. That ship cannot be allowed to exist. On the eternal dawn, Taemin stood in the control room and watched stars streak past. Hana stood beside him, her hologram solid and strong. "Where are we going?" he asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere we can wake the colonists and plan our next move." She looked at him. "Are you ready for this? Once we start, we can't stop. We're going to tell humanity the truth. All of it." Taemin thought about the man in the cryopod. About 50,000 people who had given up everything to be free. About a war that had been erased from history. "I'm ready," he said. "Let's remind the galaxy what humans really are." The eternal dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a dead star system. Hana had chosen it carefully. No colonies. No trade routes. Nothing but empty space and forgotten worlds. It was the perfect place to hide while they figured out their next move. Taemin sat in the captain's chair, still amazed that he was on a ship this powerful. Through the view screen, he could see a massive gas giant with rings that glowed purple in the dim light. It was beautiful and lonely at the same time. "We need a crew," Hana said. She stood beside him, her hologram flickering slightly. "I can fly this ship alone. But to use it properly, to wake the colonists and defend ourselves, we need people who can help." "Where do we find people we can trust?" Taemin asked. "Everyone thinks humans are weak. Everyone thinks we should be grateful to the hegemony. Do you know anyone who questions things? Anyone who feels like something is wrong?" Taemin thought about it. Most humans he knew were happy with their lives. They worked hard, followed rules, and never asked for more. But there were a few people he remembered, people who were different. "Dong Ha," he said. "He used to work with me at the junkyard. Always talking about how humans could build better ships if the hegemony would let us use better technology. They fired him for asking too many questions." "Where is he now?" "Last I heard, he was doing repair work on a mining colony. Daejin Station, I think." Hana pulled up star charts. "That's 2 days from here. Anyone else?" "Ji-woo. She's a smuggler. Operates a small ship called the Lucky Break. I saved her life once when station security was about to catch her. She said she owed me. A smuggler who knows how to avoid authorities could be useful. Can you contact her?" Taemin pulled out his personal communicator. He sent a coded message to Ji-woo's last known frequency. 3 minutes later, he got a response. Well, the junkyard worker finally calling in his favor. "What do you need?" "Meet me at the following coordinates," Taemin sent back. "Come alone. Don't tell anyone." "That mysterious, huh? This better be worth it." The Lucky Break arrived 6 hours later. It was a small ship, barely bigger than a shuttle, with more patches than original hull. But Taemin knew it was fast. Ji-woo had outrun hegemony cruisers more than once. Ji-woo docked with the Eternal Dawn and came aboard. She was short, tough, and had scars on her hands from years of hard work. When she saw the inside of the ship, her eyes went wide. "What in the galaxy is this?" she asked. "It's a long story," Taemin said, "but I need your help." He told her everything. About finding the ship, about Hana, about the colonists, and the war that never made it into history books. Ji-woo listened, without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "You're telling me the hegemony has been lying to us for 600 years, she finally said. "Yes. And this ship has 50,000 original humans who could prove it." "Yes." Ji-woo started laughing. "I knew it. I always knew something was wrong. Why else would they control every bit of technology we get to use? Why else would they keep us weak?" She stopped laughing, and her face turned serious. "I'm in. Whatever you're planning, I'm in." They picked up Dong Ha next. He was working in a repair bay on Daejin Station when Taemin found him. Dong Ha was tall and skinny, with oil stains on his clothes and circuits in his hair. "Taemin? I thought you were still at that junkyard." Dong Ha hugged him. Then he saw the Eternal Dawn through the station window. "Is that your ship? How did you afford that?" 0.25 credits, Taemin said with a smile. When they told Dong Ha the truth, he cried. Actual tears ran down his face as he looked at the sleeping colonists. "I've spent my whole life trying to understand why we can't build better things," he said. "Why every blueprint I draw gets rejected. Why the hegemony says our ideas are too dangerous or too ambitious. Now I know. They were afraid we'd remember how good we used to be." He touched one of the cryopods gently. "We have to wake them. We have to learn from them." "We will," Hana promised. "But first we need one more person." The last recruit was Hyun. He was a historian who worked at a human university on Earth. Taemin had never met him, but Hana found his research papers in the ship's database. Hyun had spent 20 years trying to prove that human history started before first contact. The university called him crazy. Other historians laughed at him. But he never stopped searching. They found him in a small apartment, surrounded by old documents and ancient data files. He was old. Maybe 60. With gray hair and tired eyes. When they told him about the eternal dawn, he didn't believe them at first. "People have been telling me I'm chasing ghosts my whole life," he said. "Why should I believe you?" Hana appeared in the room as a hologram. "Because I was there. I remember Earth before the hegemony. I remember the war. And I can prove all of it." Hyun stared at her. Then he grabbed his coat. "Take me to your ship, now." When Hyun saw the sleeping colonists, he fell to his knees. He touched the floor of the cryobay like it was holy ground. "I was right," he whispered. "All those years, all that mockery. I was right." He looked up at Taemin with tears in his eyes. "We have to tell everyone. Every human needs to know the truth." "We will," Taemin promised. "But the hegemony will try to stop us." He was right. At that moment, across the galaxy, Counselor Wrath was assembling a task force. 50 warships. All commanded by Valen officers. All equipped with weapons designed to destroy planets if necessary. The Eternal Dawn was the most dangerous ship Earth ever built, Wrath told his officers. "It carries proof of what we did. It carries humans who remember how to fight. We cannot let it spread that knowledge. Find it. Destroy it. Kill everyone on board. No survivors." But the hegemony wasn't the only one looking. The message Krell had sent from Rust Haven had spread through military channels. Other species heard about it. Some were curious. Others were worried. A few were angry. On a hegemony border world, a young Valen officer named Kella read the report. She remembered stories her grandmother used to tell. Stories about a war that never officially happened. Stories about humans who refused to surrender even when their world burned. Kella sent her own message. Not to the High Council. To the resistance networks that existed in the shadows of the hegemony. Groups of aliens who were tired of Valen control, who wanted freedom for their own species. "The proof we've been looking for exists," her message said. "A human ship from before the modification. Find it before the Council does. Protect it." The Eternal Dawn stayed hidden in the dead system for 3 days, while Dong-ha worked on the ship's systems, and Hyun recorded everything Hana told him. Jiwoo taught Taemin how to use the ship's weapons. They were complex but powerful. One shot from the Eternal Dawn could destroy a modern cruiser. On the 3rd day, Hana made an announcement. "We need to wake some of the colonists," she said. "Not all of them. Not yet. But we need soldiers. Tacticians. People who know how to fight." "Won't that be dangerous?" Taemin asked. "They'll wake up 600 years in the future. That's going to be a shock. They're military personnel. They trained for difficult situations." Hana pulled up files on the ship's crew. "There's someone I want to wake first. Captain Sujin. She was the military commander of this ship. If anyone can help us, it's her." They gathered in the cryobay. Hana activated the revival sequence for one pod. Inside, Taemin could see a woman in her 30s. She had short black hair, and even in sleep, her face looked strong, like someone who had seen battles and won them. The pod opened with a hiss. The woman's eyes opened. She took a deep breath, then another. Her hand moved to her side, searching for a weapon that wasn't there. "Report," she said. Her voice was rough from 600 years of sleep. "Where are we? What's the situation?" "Trivermend. Trivermend. Trivermend. Trivermender. 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 Trivermender." "Captain Sujin," Hana said gently. "Welcome back. We have a lot to explain." It took 2 hours to tell Sujin everything. She listened without interrupting. Her face showed no emotion. When they finished, she stood up and walked to the view screen. She stared out at the stars for a long time. "So Earth fell," she finally said. "They modified the survivors, erased the war, made humanity into servants." "Yes," Hana said, "and this ship has been floating in a junkyard for 400 years. "Yes, and now, the hegemony is hunting us." "Yes." Sujin turned around. There was fire in her eyes. "Good. Let them come. We have 50,000 soldiers in cryosleep. We have weapons they've never seen. And we have something more important than that." "What?" Taemin asked. "We have the truth," Sujin said. "And the truth is a weapon they can't defend against." She looked at each of them. "Wake 50 more soldiers. Military personnel only. We're going to teach you how to use this ship properly. Then we're going to do what Earth sent us to do 600 years ago." "What's that?" Jiwoo asked. Sujin smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We're going to remind the galaxy what happens when you try to cage humanity." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Hana's face went pale. 5 hegemony warships just entered the system," she said. "They found us." "How?" Dongha asked. "We've been completely silent." Sujin walked to the weapon controls. Her hands moved over them like she had never stopped being a soldier. "Doesn't matter. What matters is what we do now." She looked at Taemin. "You're the captain. Give the order." Taemin felt everyone's eyes on him. 50,000 people were depending on him. The truth about humanity was depending on him. "Battle stations," he said. "Let's show them what a real human ship can do." The battle lasted 17 minutes. The hegemony ships approached with confidence. They were modern warships with powerful weapons and strong shields. They had destroyed entire fleets. They expected an easy victory against one ancient vessel. They were wrong. Sujin stood at the weapons console like she had never left. Her hands moved with perfect precision. "Target their engines," she ordered. "We disable, not destroy. I want prisoners." The Eternal Dawn's weapons fired. Beams of light that didn't exist in modern technology tore through space. The first hegemony ship lost its engines before it could even raise full shields. The second ship tried to run. It didn't make it far. The third, fourth, and fifth ships fired everything they had at the Eternal Dawn. Nothing got through. "Their weapons are like throwing rocks at a mountain," Sujin said calmly. She fired again. Again. Within minutes, all 5 ships were floating dead in space. Their crews were alive but helpless. Taemin stared at the view screen in shock. "We just beat 5 warships." "No," Sujin corrected. "We barely used our power. This ship was built to fight entire fleets. 5 ships is nothing." Hana's hologram flickered. "More ships will come. That was just a scout force. The real fleet will be here soon. Then we need to move," Jiwoo said. "Where do we go?" Sujin pulled up a star chart. "Hana, show me the coordinates for the colony world. The one we were supposed to reach 600 years ago." Hana looked surprised. "New Horizon? That mission is 600 years old. The planet might not even be habitable anymore." "Show me anyway." The coordinates appeared on the screen. The planet was far from any trade routes. The hegemony had marked the entire region as uninhabitable. No colonies. No stations. Nothing. "That's perfect," Sujin said. "If the hegemony says it's uninhabitable, they won't look for us there. And if it really was our target, the planet should be perfect for human life." What about the colonists? Dongha asked. We can't wake all 50,000 at once. The ship doesn't have enough resources. We wake them slowly, Sujin said. Essential personnel first. Engineers. Doctors. Farmers. People who can help us build a base on New Horizon. Then we wake more as we have the supplies to support them. And if the planet really is uninhabitable? Hyun asked. Sujin smiled. Then we use Project Genesis. We make it habitable. The journey to New Horizon took 3 weeks. During that time, Sujin woke 50 more colonists. Each one reacted differently to the news that 600 years had passed. Some cried. Some got angry. All of them eventually accepted the truth and got to work. Among them was director Kyung-soo, the scientist who had designed Project Genesis. He was middle-aged, with kind eyes and gentle hands. But when he talked about terraforming, his voice became passionate. Project Genesis can turn a dead rock into a garden world in 3 weeks, he explained to Taemin. We developed it because we knew we'd need habitable planets fast. The hegemony controlled all the good worlds. We had to make our own. Does it really work? Taemin asked. We tested it on Mars, turned it green in a month. Kyung-soo looked sad. Of course, the hegemony destroyed all that when they won. Couldn't let humans have that kind of power. Another important person they woke was Da-eun, a former Earth diplomat. She was sharp and clever, with a mind that could see 10 steps ahead in any negotiation. When she learned about modern humanity, she became very quiet. They didn't just defeat us, she said. They erased us. Made us think we were always weak. That's more effective than any weapon. Can we fix it? Taemin asked. Fix 600 years of cultural programming? That's not going to be easy. Da-eun thought for a moment. But we have something powerful. We have proof. We have people who remember. And most importantly, we have you. Me? You're a modern human who chose to fight. Who saw the truth and didn't look away. If you can wake up, others can too. When the eternal dawn finally reached New Horizon, everyone crowded around the view screens. What they saw took their breath away. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked exactly like Earth was supposed to look. Untouched. Perfect. Waiting. The hegemony said this region was uninhabitable, Jiwoo said. They lied. Not just lied, Hyun said, looking at navigation data. They deliberately corrupted the star charts. Put false readings in the database. They didn't want anyone to find this place. Because they knew it was our target, Sujin said. They've been hiding it for 600 years, making sure no one ever discovered it. Hana ran scans. The planet is perfect. Breathable air, clean water, rich soil, no intelligent life. It's exactly what we were looking for. Kyung-soo looked at the world with tears in his eyes. We can build here. We can make this our new home. They landed in a valley near a large river. The colonists who were awake worked together to set up the first base. Engineers built shelters. Farmers tested the soil. Soldiers secured the perimeter. Within 3 days, they had a functioning settlement. Then they began the Great Awakening. Slowly, carefully, they revived the colonists. Families woke up together. Children who had been 8 years old when they went to sleep were still 8 years old. They stepped out of the ship and ran through grass that humans had planted 600 years ago, on a world the hegemony tried to hide. Taemin watched a little girl pick flowers and laugh. He couldn't remember the last time he had seen a human child that happy. Modern human children were always so serious. So careful, so afraid to want too much. They're different, he said to Sujin. They haven't been taught to be small, she replied. That girl thinks she can do anything. And you know what? She probably can. As more colonists woke, they brought skills and knowledge that modern humans had lost. Artists who created beauty without asking permission. Scientists who asked questions without fear. Soldiers who stood tall without apologizing. Teachers who believed humans could achieve greatness. Hyun spent every day recording their stories. He interviewed hundreds of people. Each one remembered a humanity that was bold and ambitious, that reached for the stars not because they were given permission, but because they refused to stay still. "This has to get out," Hyun said. "Every human in the galaxy needs to see these recordings. The hegemony will try to stop us," Da-un warned. "Let them try." Hyun looked determined. "The truth is stronger than their lies." While the colony grew, Kyung-soo prepared Project Genesis. He chose a small island off the coast to run the first test. The island was rocky and barren. Within 6 hours of activating Project Genesis, plants began to grow. Within 3 days, the island was covered in forests. Within a week, animals that they had introduced were thriving. "It works," Kyung-soo said with wonder. "After 600 years, it still works." "Can we make it bigger?" Sujin asked. "We can terraform an entire planet if we have enough time and resources." "Then that's what we'll do. We'll make New Horizon into a paradise, and then we'll offer to share the technology." "Share it?" Taemin was surprised. "With everyone," Da-un said. She had been listening. "We offer it to all species. Free. No conditions. We show them that humans aren't interested in conquest. We just want to live and grow." "The hegemony won't accept that," Jiwoo said. "No, they won't," Da-un agreed. "But the other species will. The hegemony keeps power by controlling habitable worlds. If every species can make their own worlds, the hegemony loses that power. We break their hold without firing a shot." It was a brilliant plan. But it required time. Time to build. Time to prove. Project Genesis worked. Time to prepare. Time they didn't have. 6 weeks after they arrived on New Horizon, the hegemony found them. Not a scout force this time. A full battle fleet. 200 warships, carrying enough firepower to sterilize the planet. Counselor Wrath led the fleet personally. He sent a message to the surface. "Surrender immediately. Hand over all colonists and the ship. We will allow modern humans to live if you comply. Refuse, and we will destroy everything. You have 1 hour." The colonists gathered in the main square of their new town. 50,000 people. Families. Friends. Soldiers and farmers and artists and children. All looking to Taemin for leadership. He didn't feel like a leader. He was just a junkyard worker who had bought a ship for 0.25 credits. But when he looked at those faces, he saw hope. He saw people who had given up everything to be free. He couldn't let them down. "Hana," he said. "Can we fight them?" The AI appeared beside him. 200 ships is a lot. But this ship was designed for this kind of battle. We can win. "At what cost?" Taemin asked. "Some of their ships will get through. They might damage the colony. People might die." Sujin stepped forward. "Then, we don't just defend, we make a statement." She looked at the colonists. 600 years ago, Earth was told to surrender or die. Earth chose to fight. Are we less brave than our ancestors? 50,000 voices shouted no. "Then we show them," Sujin said. "We show them what happens when you try to destroy humanity. We show them that we don't just survive. We win." Taemin looked at Counselor Wrath's message on the screen. 1 hour to surrender. He thought about all the modern humans living in the galaxy. Working hard. Being grateful. Never knowing they were meant to be more. "Send a message back," he said. "Tell Wrath that humanity doesn't surrender. Not 600 years ago. Not today. Not ever." Hana smiled. Transmitting now. On his flagship, Wrath received the message. He read it, and his face twisted with rage. "Destroy them all," he ordered. "Leave nothing alive on that planet." The fleet advanced. And the eternal dawn rose to meet them, ready to show the galaxy what a human warship could really do. The battle began at dawn. 200 hegemony warships descended on New Horizon like a metal storm. Their weapons charged, their shields glowed. They expected resistance, but they expected to win. They had the numbers, They had the experience. They had crushed entire civilizations. The Eternal Dawn rose from the planet alone to meet them. 1 ship against 200, Counselor Wrath said from his flagship. The humans are fools. He was wrong. Sujin stood at the weapons console with 50 of her soldiers around her. Each one was trained. Each one remembered how Earth had fought an empire, and nearly won. Each one was ready. Target engines and weapons, Sujin ordered. We disable, not destroy. I want as many survivors as possible. They need to tell others what happened here today. The Eternal Dawn opened fire. Its weapons were 600 years more advanced than anything the hegemony used. Beams of concentrated energy tore through space at the speed of light. The first wave of hegemony ships lost their shields before they even knew they were under attack. The second wave tried to spread out. It didn't help. The Eternal Dawn's targeting systems could track 1,000 targets at once. Impossible, Wrath whispered as he watched his ships fall silent one by one. Those weapons shouldn't exist. The battle lasted 40 minutes. Not 40 hours, not 40 days, 40 minutes. When it was over, 198 hegemony ships floated powerless in space. Their crews were alive, but their ships were dead. Only Wrath's flagship remained functional. Sujin had deliberately left it operational. Do you understand now? Sujin broadcast to the entire hegemony fleet. This is one human ship, one. Built 600 years ago. And we defeated your best fleet in less than an hour. Imagine what we could do with a full fleet. Imagine what we could do if we wanted to conquer instead of defend. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we don't want conquest. We never did. Earth fought because you tried to change us, because you tried to make us less than what we were. And now, 600 years later, you're going to answer for that. Taemin watched the disabled ships on the view screen. What do we do with them? We put them on trial. Daun said. She had been preparing for this moment. We show the galaxy what the hegemony did. We make them face their crimes. Daun. They brought Counselor Wrath down to the planet. He came in chains, surrounded by human soldiers. The colonists had built a large gathering place in the center of their town. Thousands of people filled the space. More watched through broadcasts that Hyun was sending across the galaxy. Every human world received the signal. Every alien species with communications equipment saw it. For the first time in 600 years, humanity was telling its own story. Wrath stood before them, proud even in defeat. You cannot judge me. The hegemony will never accept this. The hegemony doesn't get a choice, Daun said. She stood as prosecutor. For 600 years, you have controlled humanity through lies. You told us we were primitive, that you gave us space travel as a gift, that we should be grateful for your guidance. She pulled up holographic displays showing Hana's memories. The attack on Earth, the burning cities, the billions dead, the forced genetic modification of survivors, the erasure of all records. This is what really happened, Daun said. You attacked us because we refused to submit. You modified the survivors to make them docile. You erased our history so we would never know what we lost, and you've been controlling us ever since. Wrath's face showed no emotion. We did what was necessary. Unmodified humans were dangerous, too aggressive, too ambitious. You would have conquered the galaxy. Maybe, Sujin said, stepping forward. Or maybe we would have done what we're doing now. Building. Growing. Creating. You never gave us a chance to choose. Hyun presented evidence next. Documents from the hegemony's own archives that he had found in the Eternal Dawn's database. Orders to attack Earth. Plans for genetic modification. Lists of human achievements that had been deliberately hidden or destroyed. You didn't just defeat us, Hyun said, his voice shaking with emotion. You tried to erase us from history. You tried to make us forget we were ever great. As the trial continued, something unexpected happened. Other species started sending messages. Species that were part of the hegemony, but had never been comfortable with it. A Multarian scientist sent data showing his species had also been modified, made slower, made less curious. The hegemony had done to them what they did to humans. Just 500 years earlier, a Valen officer named Kella, the one who had sent messages to resistance networks, testified through video. My grandmother told me stories about the human war, about how brave they were, how they never stopped fighting. The High Council called her crazy. They said she was remembering wrong. But she wasn't, was she? More and more species came forward. Each one had pieces of a story. Each one had noticed things that didn't make sense in official histories. Each one had been told not to ask questions. The hegemony's control started cracking. On Earth, young humans watched the trial and felt something wake inside them. Anger, pride, confusion. Why had no one told them their real history? Why were they content with so little when their ancestors had reached for everything? Protests started on human worlds. Not violent, not destructive. Just humans standing together and saying, "We want the truth." After 3 days of testimony, Daun made her final argument. The hegemony's greatest crime wasn't attacking Earth, wasn't killing billions, wasn't even the genetic modification. She looked at Wrath. Their greatest crime was stealing our potential, making us believe we were small when we were meant to be mighty, teaching us to be grateful for scraps when we could have had feast. She turned to address the cameras, knowing billions were watching. To every human in the galaxy, this is who we were. This is who we can be again. The hegemony tried to make us forget. But we remember now. And we will never forget again. The verdict came quickly. Wrath was guilty. The entire hegemony leadership was guilty. But the question remained. What punishment? What justice for 600 years of lies? We could execute them, Sujin said in the council meeting. It would be deserved. We could imprison them, Dongha suggested. Daun shook her head. Neither of those serves our purpose. We're not trying to get revenge. We're trying to change the galaxy. Then what do we do? Taemin asked. Daun smiled. We offer them a deal. The hegemony can continue to exist, but with new rules. Human sovereignty is recognized. All genetic modifications are reversed. All species have access to Project Genesis. And the Hegemony Council must include representatives from species they previously controlled. They'll never agree to that, Jiwoo said. They will, Daeun said. Because the alternative is that we release all the evidence publicly and let every species in the hegemony decide for themselves if they want to stay. The hegemony will collapse within a year. She was right. Faced with complete destruction or reformation, the Hegemony Council agreed to the terms. It took 6 months to implement all the changes. But they happened. Project Genesis was released to all species. Kyungsoo traveled to dozens of worlds, teaching others how to use it. Within a year, 20 new habitable planets existed. Species that had been limited to single worlds for centuries suddenly had room to grow. The genetic modifications were slowly reversed. It would take generations for humanity to fully return to its original state, but the process had begun. More importantly, modern humans learned their history. They learned about the war, about the sacrifice, about the 10 colony ships that tried to carry humanity's hope to the stars. How many of those ships survived? A young human girl asked Taemin during a school visit. We don't know yet, he admitted. We're still looking. And they were. Taemin had formed a team dedicated to finding the other 9 colony ships. They searched old star charts, followed ancient trajectories, asked questions in forgotten corners of the galaxy. 2 years after the Battle of New Horizon, they found the second ship. It was floating near a red dwarf star, its colonists still sleeping, still waiting. The joy of that discovery brought tears to everyone who remembered the Eternal Dawn's awakening. 4 years later, they found a third ship. Then a fourth. Each ship added more original humans to the growing population. Each ship brought new knowledge, new perspectives, new proof of what humanity had been. New Horizon became the capital of the Human Federation, an independent government recognized by the reformed hegemony. The city grew from a small settlement to a thriving metropolis. Buildings rose toward the sky, parks filled with children playing. Schools taught the true history. Sujin commanded a joint defense fleet, making sure humanity would never be vulnerable again. But the ships in her fleet weren't designed for conquest. They were designed for protection. Humanity had learned from its past. Hana became an educator, traveling to human worlds with her mobile academy. She taught in schools, spoke at universities, told her story to anyone who would listen. She made sure no human would ever forget where they came from. Hyun published a complete history of the human hegemony war. It became required reading in schools across the galaxy. Other species read it too, learning how the hegemony had manipulated them all. Daeun served as humanity's first ambassador to the Reformed Hegemony Council. She fought for fair treatment of all species, not just humans. She built alliances with other species that had been controlled. Together, they made sure the hegemony would never again try to limit what anyone could become. Jiwoo went back to smuggling, but now she smuggled knowledge instead of goods. She carried books and data files to worlds where the local governments still tried to hide the truth. She became famous as the Truth Runner. Dong-ha led a team of engineers who worked with the colonist scientists to recover lost human technology. They didn't just rebuild what was lost. They improved it, advanced it. Within 10 years, human ships were the best in the galaxy. And Taemin? He continued doing what he had always done. He searched through junkyards. He looked for things others had overlooked. He bought ships that seemed worthless and found value in them. 10 years after buying the Eternal Dawn for 0.25 credits, Taemin stood in another junkyard. This one was on the edge of the galaxy. Far from any major trade routes, he was scanning old ships when Hana's hologram appeared beside him. "Still can't break the habit?" she asked with a smile. "You never know what you'll find in places people have forgotten," he said. "Think we'll find another colony ship? In a galaxy this big?" Taemin grinned. "There's always something worth 0.25 credits waiting to change everything." He continued scanning. The ships floated around them, dark and silent. Most of them really were junk. But one, far in the distance, began to glow with a familiar amber light. Emergency systems coming online after centuries of sleep. Taemin's scanner beeped. Ship number unknown. Listed price, 0.25 credits. He looked at Hana. She looked at him. They both started laughing. "Here we go again," he said. They walked toward the glowing ship, ready to wake another piece of humanity's past. Ready to add more voices to the story. Ready to keep reminding the galaxy that humans didn't ask permission to reach for the stars. They never had. They never would. Behind them, the sun rose over New Horizon. On that world, in the city humans had built with their own hands, children woke up believing they could do anything. Artists created without limits. Scientists asked questions without fear. Soldiers stood proud without apology. Humanity had remembered who they were, and the galaxy would never forget again. The story of the Eternal Dawn became a legend. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. Historians studied it for generations. It was a story about how one person's choice could change everything, about how the truth could never be buried forever, about how humanity refused to stay down. But most importantly, it was a reminder that greatness isn't given, it's chosen, it's fought for, it's earned through sacrifice and courage, and the refusal to accept less than what you're capable of becoming. The Eternal Dawn had carried that message across 600 years. And now, thanks to a junkyard worker who spent 0.25 credits, that message would echo through the galaxy forever. Humanity doesn't ask permission to reach for the stars, they just reach.